All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Community Church. We're going to get started. You're welcome to stand and join us. Remember those walls that we called sin and shame? They were like prisons that we couldn't escape. But he came, and he died, and he rose. Those walls are rubble now. Remember those giants we called death and grave? They were like mountains that stood in our way. But he came, and he died, and he rose. And those giants are dead now. Sing, this is our God. This is our God. This is who he is. He loves us. This is our God. This is what he does. He saves us. He bore the cross, beat the grave. Let heaven and earth proclaim. This is our God, King Jesus. Remember that fear that took our breath away. Faith so weak that we could barely pray. But he heard every word, every whisper. Now those altars in the wilderness tell the story of his faithfulness. Never once did he fail, and he never will. This is our God, this is who he is. He loves us. This is our God, this is what he does. He saves us. He bore the cross, beat the grave. Let heaven and earth proclaim. This is our God, King Jesus. Who pulled me out of that pit? He did, he did. Who paid for all of our sin? Nobody but Jesus. Who pulled me out of that pit? He did, he did. Who paid for all of our sin? Who rescued me from that grave? Yahweh, Yahweh. Who gets the glory and praise? Nobody but Jesus. Who rescued me from that grave? Yahweh, Yahweh. Who gets the glory and praise? Nobody but him. This is our God. This is who he is. He loves us. This is our God. This is what he does. He saves us. He bore the cross, beat the grave. Let heaven and earth proclaim. This is our God, King Jesus. He bore the cross, beat the grave. Let heaven and earth proclaim. This is our God, King Jesus.
I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen. I'm free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth the living. I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. in my way. I know I am yours, and I was made for more. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that stepped down into my brokenness. Once I was lost, but now I'm found. Heaven has come to make us whole again. Oh, heaven has come. Greater love has none than this. Mercy poured out from eternity. Jesus, the Son of God, came down, giving his life away to set us free. Faithful is the one who has come for us. His
Thank you for singing with us. You can have a seat.
Hi, my name's Allie. This is Tom.
Good morning.
All right, so I have a question. Now with the warm weather here a little bit, is anyone else getting that spring itch to like declutter and to chuck everything you've ever had in your house? Yes, okay, I'm getting some hands here. Yeah, so if you're like me, happy spring cleaning to everyone.
That's not me, but sometimes I get the itch. I just don't know what to do with it. Probably should see a doctor. All right, welcome to Community Church, everybody. Glad you guys are here. If you're new or visiting with us, thanks so much for being a part of this morning. We actually would love to connect with you. There's a couple ways in which you can do that. If you head over to communitychurch.net/connect and fill out that form just for saying hello, we'll send you a gift card in the mail. You can do that by scanning the QR code on the back of your seat or on your screen right now if you're watching from outside of this room. Or if you're here in person, you can also fill out that same form in person downstairs after the service in the cafe. There's a big table that says, I'm new on the wall. Go over there, talk to the person, and fill out the form. We'll give you a gift just for doing that.
And if you have been here for any amount of time at all and you've experienced something good or meaningful here, it is largely because people give financially to the church. We are 100% supported by people who give regularly and generously. And because of that, we're able to make a big impact. Just last weekend, we had over 2,000 people come through our doors. Yeah. And we were able to host an Easter egg hunt for the kids in our community. And those things are really made possible because of people who give. So if you're interested in giving or even learning more about it, you can go to communitychurch.net/give. There's some frequently asked questions on the page, so you can find out more there.
We have an event coming up next Sunday that is designed for people who are new to our church, who've never participated in a group or joined one of our teams, or who have questions. It's called Start Party. It's happening next Sunday, which is May 4th, which is Star Wars Day, in case anyone is interested. May the 4th, and also with you, that's right. At 6 p.m. on that Sunday, we're having Start Party here. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll have games, we'll have food, but also you'll be able to hear from some of our volunteers about what it's like to be on our team, and you'll get your questions answered. It's gonna be awesome. We'd love to see you there. You can sign up at communitychurch.net/start.
And here tonight at 6:30 is our monthly Students Night. On the fourth Sunday of every month, we have a Students Night here for our 6th to 12th graders. We have a fun time. It's also a great place to make some meaningful connections. And if this is your first time or your student's first time coming, there's always new kids that come, so they don't have to feel like they would be alone. So I hope to see you guys there.
That's it for us. In just a few moments, Lou will be here to start our brand new series called Church Hurt. Stay tuned.
All right, well, this week we're starting a brand new series. If you haven't been here before, or if last week was your first time, thanks for showing up again. My name is Lou. I'm one of the pastors here. I'm so glad you're with us. And at this point in the service, what we typically do is either start a new teaching series or continue one we're currently in. Today's a great week to be with us because we're starting a brand new one. We are talking about church hurt. We're talking about pain, hurt that people feel in the church. And before we get into it, I want to tell you a little bit about the way that laundry works in my house. All right, now, my wife, Allie, she was just up here a second ago. She told you that she's got like the itch to do some cleaning, and she's telling the truth. So in our house, laundry is my responsibility. Now, this is a new development. Allie, for really over 10 years was doing laundry. I just wasn't very good at it, and I held to that story for 10 years. But then things have changed. Our kids got a little bigger. There's a lot more clothes, whatever. So now I'm doing it. And when I say I'm doing it, what I mean is I put the clothes in the washing machine and then move them into the dryer, but she still folds them. But over the last few weeks, things have got a little crazy in my house. You know, you could probably imagine we both work in a church, and Easter was coming up, and so things are kind of nuts leading up to Easter. Our kids are also playing baseball and softball, which around here in Little League, it's about as big a commitment as playing for the Yankees. And so things have been a little crazy. And so I'm looking in the laundry room as the days pass, and I see the clothes on the floor, and they start to pile up, you know? And we have a door on our laundry room, and so I'd look in there, see the clothes, and just be like, shut the door. And day after day, that would happen, just kind of like put some more clothes in there, and it was getting really rough. And then yesterday, I opened the door because it was finally time to face the beast. And it was a beast. I couldn't even see the floor of the laundry room. I tried to open up the washing machine, door to the washing machine. I could not get the door open because there were so many clothes in front of it. My son comes in, he's like, I don't have any clean underwear. I'm taking these. I was like, fine, but smell them first, you know? It's nuts. I found a leak in the room. There's a leak in the laundry room just because it's gotten so crazy. And here's what I know about me, and you probably have figured this out already. I don't drift toward disorder. I don't drift toward order, rather. I drift toward disorder. Left to itself, the laundry's gonna pile up. I'm never gonna open the door and just see that it's all done, right? And this tends to be true of the human race. We tend to drift toward disorder or toward dysfunction. Order needs to be worked for. Health needs to be worked for. We need to be intentional about working toward what we're going for, or we'll drift toward disorder and dysfunction. This is true not just of laundry, it's true of our health, right? If we're not intentional about our health, we'll drift toward unhealth. It's true of finance, it's true of marriage, it's true of parenting. If we're not intentional, we will tend to drift toward disorder. That's just part of the human condition. And the same thing is true for churches. As a church, we've got beliefs, we've got values, we want our culture to look a certain way. But if we're not intentional, we will drift toward dysfunction. We will drift toward disorder. We'll drift toward living in a way that's not in line with our values. No matter where you go, you will find levels of dysfunction in whatever realm of life we're talking about. But what makes the difference, and this is true of church as well, is are we able to identify it, the dysfunction? And do we have the courage? Are we willing to address it when we see it? And so that's what we're talking about in this series, because in the church, when dysfunction seeps into the church, when dysfunction becomes the norm, that's when people get hurt. No church sets out to hurt people. As a church, we never want to hurt people, but it happens when the church drifts toward unhealth because we're not intentional about preventing dysfunction. And so over the next few weeks, we're looking at forms of dysfunction and addressing those, preparing ourselves to identify them so that we know what to do when they rise to the surface. The form of dysfunction that we're talking about this week is one that we have talked about before. We've talked about this about a year ago. We did an entire series on this, but it is so big. It is so important, and it can cause so much damage in the church. It is a form of dysfunction that's not specific to the church, but it is especially toxic when it's in the church. It is central to the human condition. All of us wrestle with it to some extent or another. And the reason why I love talking about this so much is because if you're someone who's not sure about church, like if you've been out of church for a long time, and maybe you've never been to church, or you're avoiding church, this might be the thing that you're avoiding by avoiding church. If you ever want to hide from church, this is the thing that makes you want to hide from church. If you're ever in church and you feel like garbage, this is the thing that's making you feel like garbage. And not only should it not be able to thrive in church, but I would argue that the church is uniquely equipped with the remedy for this issue. So, the form of dysfunction we're talking about, like I said, it's a central part of the human race. It is such an important part, or understanding it is so important, it's included in our origin story, the origin story of the human race. Jesus believed that the Genesis account, the story of how things came to be, was the origin story of the human race. Now, the great thing about origin stories, I love origin stories, like Batman, right? I love not just watching what Batman does, but I want to know how he became Batman, right? Like, to me, that's fascinating. Or Superman. How did Superman become Superman? The great thing about origin stories is they don't just tell us how someone became the way they are. It also tends to show us why someone currently is the way that they are, right? When you know where someone came from. And that's what this origin story does for us. Now, the origin story is the story found in the beginning of the book of Genesis. If you're not familiar with the Bible, it's the very, very beginning. A lot of people struggle with this story because God speaks things into existence. We're told that everything is kind of in disorder and God brings order to it. And for a lot of people, that's like hard to wrap your mind around. There's also a talking animal in the story, which is not just like an everyday thing, Some people think that this is metaphorical. Some people think that everything happened exactly the way it is. Whatever you feel about the story, what I'm going to ask you to do for the time that we have left today is to take your hesitations and reservations and just set them aside. And if we take a close look at this story, what I think you'll see is that it is wildly ahead of its time and insanely accurate when it comes to diagnosing the human condition. And so what we're told is that things are formless and void, right? There's disorder, and then God speaks order into things. And after each day, after each thing he makes, he says that it's good. He celebrates. He's like, oh, that's good, and this is good. And then he creates the human race. And after creating the human race, he says, it's very good. Like he's extra happy. It's like a bonus celebration. This is really good. And we're told that the world is free of corruption. It's paradise. Everything is literally the way it's supposed to be. It's literally the way it was made to be. And so, I don't know, but if you're like me, I got questions. I want to know what's it like there, especially being a human. What is it like living in a world free of corruption? What does it feel like? Right? You ever think about that? Yeah, so fortunately for us, or for me, apparently, if I'm the only one that ever asked that question, we're given a little description. It's very short, but we're given a little description of what it was like to be a human in paradise. It's short, and here's what we're told. It's in the beginning of Genesis. We're told Adam, which literally is the word for man, the man and his wife were both naked. And we're told they felt no shame. And that's it. End of story. It's the end of the description of what it's like to be a person in a world free of corruption. Now, if you know this, you're like, yeah, I know that. You've probably heard it a million times. But if you've never heard that before, you recognize that's weird. That is an odd detail to include. It's a weird description. Like, there's so many other things that could have been said. It could have said they tripped and they never fell. Or they got cut, but they didn't feel pain. Or they were always smiling, or every day felt like a Friday. Like there's a million things, they sweat, but they didn't smell. But instead, we're just told they're naked and they feel no shame. Now, every time we talk about this, I have to point out that I like to go to the gym early in the morning. And in the locker room early in the morning, if you've ever been to a gym early in the morning, you know that there is a lot of naked and no shame in the locker room. And it's not paradise. But the idea here is that they're totally exposed and yet they're completely embraced. Or we've said in the past, they're fully known and they're fully loved. And that's a little more relatable, right? Like your best relationships, what we would say of them, or closest friends, we'd say, they know who I really am. Or I could be the real me when I'm with them, right? Like they see me for who I am and I'm accepted. I'm fully known and I'm fully loved. I'm exposed and I'm embraced. That's what relationships were intended to look like, fully known and fully loved. But if you know the story, you know there's a moment where it all falls apart, where something goes wrong, where all of a sudden the human race faces corruption for the first time. There's brokenness in the world. They're told not to eat from a certain tree. They do, and then in that instant, things fall apart. Now, I don't know, if you're like me, I got questions. I'm like, well, what happens? You know, what happens when things go bad? Are they just angry forever? You know, all of a sudden, are things just start raining all the time? The sun's never shining? Like, what does it look like the moment things go wrong? We're told that as soon as things go wrong, it says, then the eyes of both of them were open, meaning they saw differently. And they have a realization. It says they realized that they were naked. And so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. That's it. That's the moment. Like, think about this. What an odd thing to include. The moment things go wrong, they have a realization about their vulnerability. They go from exposed and embraced to covering, hiding, and fearing what's going to happen if you see the real me. What they're experiencing is what we call shame. Now, we've talked about this before. Like I said, we've done a whole series on this. But shame, according to the biblical authors, shame is the issue at the heart of the human condition. When things went wrong, this showed up. If you haven't thought about shame in your life recently, probably you've given shame a different name. Or you're dealing with a symptom of shame rather than shame itself, because shame sits deep beneath the surface and it's something all of us struggle with to some extent or another. We're going to put on our website, in the link under this message, we're going to put a bunch of resources that we used for the last series so you can look into it and you can find out for yourself how shame shows up in your life, what shame looks like, what it sounds like. Shame, according to Brene Brown, who considers herself a shame researcher, she would say shame is the experience, the painful experience of believing that I am flawed and therefore unworthy of acceptance, belonging, and connection. Or she would say unworthy of love and belonging. I'm flawed, and because of that, I'm unworthy of acceptance, belonging, and connection. It's not the flawed that's the painful part, it's the implication of the flaw. Now, acceptance, belonging, connection, I don't know how often you think about these things, but these are things we all need. We thrive when we have them, and we suffer when we don't. It's why rejection hurts so much. It's why being left out is painful. It's hard to watch someone be rejected or left out or pushed out or cast out or to be the one who doesn't have a place. We fear that, and it's deep within us. And shame like plays on that. It makes us feel like we're unworthy of that. And so we avoid it like crazy. We try to protect ourselves from it. We defend ourselves. We put up walls. We cover. We hide. Because it's an attack on the identity. In general, it is simply the feeling of not being enough. Not enough. It's not something I did isn't enough. It's who I am is not enough. And this can seep into any and every area of life. I'm not a good enough dad. Not a good enough mom. Not a good enough friend. Not a good enough son. Not a good enough teacher. Not a good enough student. Fill in the blank. I am not enough. Shame, it's an attack on the identity, on who I am and what I'm worth. It's not a moment of fleeting embarrassment. It's not simply like humiliation where you get red in the face. It's an attack on the identity, and it's painful. Our brains register it the same way we register physical pain. What's amazing is that there's more and more research that's like showing up that's indicating that shame is in no way helpful when it comes to changing human behavior. In fact, it erodes the part of us that believes we can make progress. It's destructive, it's harmful, it's painful. In life, shame can sound like all different kinds of things. For a lot of men, it feels like weakness, like feeling weak, small, and inadequate. It can sound like I'm a burden. Everyone's better off when I'm not there. I never should have let myself get to this point. I always mess things up. I ruin the good things in life. I'm not doing enough for my kids. It's vague. I'm not doing enough for my parents, for my friends. I should be happier. I don't deserve to rest. I don't deserve what I have. I can't keep up with everyone else. I'm not good at relationships. I don't fit in. I'm too old to start over. I'm too young to be taken seriously. I hate my body. I hate what I see in the mirror. I'll always be the one who was cheated on. I'll always be the one who cheated. I wish I could be more like them. I feel like an outsider in my own family. I'm never invited and it hurts. I don't know how to fix this. I'm always messing things up. It makes me feel weak. I stay quiet because I have nothing to offer. I'm the only one who doesn't know what they're doing. I'm just surviving. I'm stuck and it's my fault. It's an attack on the identity. It's painful and it can hit us in any and every area of life. Home, family, relationship, finance, career, wherever you are, school. Shame has the potential to make its way in there and cause problems. It's painful. And so we run from it. Makes us want to hide. We try to dump it on other people and blame because it's painful. If you read the story in Genesis, that's what the people do. They run from God. They hide, they cover, and then they start blaming each other because no one wants to feel shame, but we all wrestle with it. Shame has the ability to thrive in churches. Thrive. Because we talk about like what we're going for. Because we talk about life change. Because we talk about what we value. We talk a lot about what we do, not just what we believe. Shame has the ability to thrive in church. And if it's not addressed, it can lead to dysfunction. It can lead to cultures of dysfunction. Now, because all of us have shame, a lot of times we bring our shame to church, and it affects the way we see church. And when I bring my shame to church, it can sound like if they really knew me, they wouldn't welcome me. I really should know more about the Bible by now. Good Christians don't struggle with this. Everyone else seems to have it together. I can't join in. I've messed up too much. If I had more faith, I wouldn't be anxious or depressed. I'm a disappointment to God. I haven't been to church in so long, I probably shouldn't come back. I still have questions. Maybe I don't have real faith. If my faith were real, I wouldn't still be struggling with this. I've already blown it. There's no coming back. My story's too messy to share. I don't pray enough, and so God must be disappointed with me. I raised my kids in church, but they walked away, and that's on me. I can't let anyone see how tired I am because I'm supposed to be serving and enjoying it. I'm a spiritual failure. They say come as you are, but I don't think they meant this. I've doubted too much to be a real believer. I wasn't healed because I lack faith. I'm struggling to forgive. I must not be a real Christian. I failed again. I did it again. Maybe I never changed at all. Shame has the ability to thrive in churches. And sometimes often it's because we bring our own shame to church. I do the same thing. But sometimes if we're not careful, if we're not active about addressing it, the church the culture in the church can reinforce the message of shame. The church can be the one communicating that I am flawed and therefore that you are flawed and therefore unworthy of love, acceptance, belonging. The church can be the one communicating that message. In a church where shame has become the norm, you've got to behave to belong. Performance. There's an emphasis on performance and not the process. It's about how it looks on the outside, not what's going on internally. You got to pretend to have the right beliefs, to be on board with all of the things. You got to hide your failures. And this happens. It happens. And we're not immune to becoming a church like this unless we're intentional about addressing it within ourselves and within the culture. I got a message, our church Instagram got a message years ago when we first launched the church. It's from a mom who was looking for a church. And she said, my family's looking for a church, but my daughter's struggling with this issue. And then she described the issue. And she said, I know what most churches believe. I know the verses. I know what the Bible says. What I need to know is if it's safe for me to bring my daughter to church. If you're someone who follows Jesus, that should break your heart. Someone who considers themselves part of the church, not just this church, but church as a whole. Like, how do we lose sight of what the church is supposed to be? This is what happens when shame enters the church. And if the church is a place where average people can show up and find a place to belong. Average people, I'll tell you a little bit about average people. 1 in 4 people, 1 in 4 are currently struggling with alcohol abuse. 1 in 20 are currently contemplating suicide. 1 in 6 is currently battling an anxiety disorder. 1 in 3 will, at some point in their life, battle an anxiety disorder. 1 in 5 men have had or are actively having an affair. 1 in 8 women have had or are actively having an affair. Like, we've all got stuff. We've all got stuff that we're not proud of. And the question is, like, what does the church have to say about this? Is the church a place where you can bring your broken pieces and broken parts for real, or do we just say that and sing songs about it? And so what do we do with shame? Well, you could look at what God does with shame. It's in the story. You should read it for yourself. It's in the beginning of Genesis. What we find out is the people, they're shamed of what they've done. Shame enters the story. They cover up. They run and hide from God. And God goes looking for them. He pursues them in their shame after they failed. They've made coverings for themselves. They've got these like little fig leaf coverings, probably weren't very durable or comfortable. And he gives them coverings. Like he meets them and provides for them in their shame. And then he tells them that one day someone is coming, someone will come who will finally provide a solution to the shame that they're dealing with. And the person he's talking about is Jesus. If you know the story, Jesus shows up and he offers his life for us. We're told so our sins can be forgiven. But he also came to take away our shame. He died for our sin and our shame. The Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the church in Rome, and he tries to help them make sense of this. And what's amazing is, again, how in line this is with how we currently understand shame. He sets up this hypothetical situation, right? Like talking about value, what people are worth. And here's what he says. He says, okay, so think about it like this. Try and use this to wrap your mind around it. He says, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person? Like in a rare situation, will someone see a righteous, like perfect person and decide that person is worth giving everything for? That's rare. But then he takes it a step further and he's like, okay, so though for a good person, like maybe not righteous, but maybe just all around good, someone might possibly dare to die, like maybe there's a good person out there, and then maybe there's someone who's like, all right, that person is worth giving everything for. But he goes, like, to show us how different God is from us. He says, but God demonstrates, he displays, he shows us what his love is like, his own love for us in this. He says, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Like, not while we were righteous finally, or a good person, or trending upward, like trying to get it, but not quite there yet, or in progress. He's like, no. If you think that it's dependent on how well you're doing, wrong. He's like, while we are at our worst. Now, none of us were actually there when Jesus died. At least to my knowledge, none of us were there. What he's saying here, so literally while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. What he's saying is like, if you want to picture the point at which Jesus was willing to give everything for you, it's not while you've got it. It's not while you're getting it. It's not while you're on your way and it's looking promising. It's when you're at your absolute rock bottom, worst, like want nothing to do with him. That's when Jesus looks at you and decides like, you are worth everything. Your value is worth it all for me. And so if the message of shame is I'm flawed and therefore I'm unworthy of acceptance, belonging, and connection, at the heart of what we believe, at the heart of the gospel is the remedy to this. That what Jesus would say is, you're flawed. Like, yeah, sorry, it's probably always gonna be that way. And yet, I am deeply loved and completely embraced in spite of my flaws. Like who I am and what I'm worth is totally independent of how well I'm doing. Totally independent. And this disarms shame, because the painful part of shame is not messing up. It's not. The painful part is the implication of that. Like, does me being imperfect make me unworthy of acceptance, belonging, and connection? This is what's at the heart of what we believe. And if that's true, then as a church, we are uniquely suited to offer the remedy to shame, the human condition. And okay, so maybe you're looking at this and you're like, okay, like you know your shame, I know my shame, like, I feel like I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that. Like really, it comes down to believing this? Really? Like that's gonna help me with my shame? You know what's interesting? If you read Brene Brown, who's the shame researcher, she's probably the most popular one out there right now, right? She would say the difference between someone who is shame resilient, she calls it, because we all have shame, or someone who she would call lives wholeheartedly, and someone who's deeply struggling with shame. She says the difference is simply that one of those groups, the people in one of those groups, they believe that they are worthy of love and belonging, of love, of acceptance, of belonging and connection. She's like, it simply comes down to the belief. Now, I think she's great, and I think that's an awesome explanation, but I think it falls short. Like for me, I'm like, yeah, but who says, right? Like, I can't just convince myself of something because I want it to be true. Who gets to say like really what I'm worth? And that's where I think the message of the gospel like comes in brilliantly. Like this is it. This is the evidence for that argument. This is the one with the authority to say what something is worth, saying you're worth everything. And so coming back, that's not a one-time thing. It's not like a light bulb, like, okay, now I don't struggle with shame anymore. It's bringing yourself back over and over and over again. And as a church, coming back to this over and over and over again. And what's amazing is that it frees you up to deal with your flaws. When who you are and what you're worth is not dependent on how well you're doing, it gives you the freedom to address how well you're doing because your identity is not on the line. There's a huge difference between guilt and shame, right? Like guilt addresses an action. I did something I don't like. And when guilt is there in its healthy form, we want to act on it. Like, I shouldn't have said that to my kids. That's not in line with my values. And so let me go to my kids, apologize for that, and now we've got reconciliation, right? But shame is like, I said that to my kids, and I did it again. I'm a bad dad, and look, I'm a mess. I just can't get it right. And one is way more likely to sit and erode the part of me that believes I can make it better. The other will point me in the right direction. But amazingly, knowing that my identity is not on the line is what allows me to handle that action as an action and not something that determines who I am and what I'm worth. We are uniquely equipped with the remedy to the condition, the problem at the core of the human heart. The church should be the safest place to bring your shame. The safest place. You should like come to the church to offload your shame, not pile it on. If you leave here feeling like the shame's been piled on, something went wrong, horribly wrong. The church is to shame as a doctor is to sickness. You bring your sickness to the doctor with hope that it's gonna get better. So he brings his shame to church with hope that the message, you've heard it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and it's starting to sink in. Like maybe I'm not defined by how well I'm doing. And so this is what it feels like. Shame, like the power of shame being released, right? So just last week, Allie and I were at a softball game, my daughter's softball game. We're sitting alone on the bleachers because we're loners. And after the game ended, this couple comes up to us, really nice. And they introduce themselves like, oh, we're so-and-so, and our kids are on the same team. Nice to meet you. Just being nice people. Like, oh, that's so nice. What great people. We left. We're like, oh, maybe we'll be friends. Really great people. The next day, my daughter has practice, very next day. Practice at 4:30. We thought it was at 5:30. And we didn't realize it was at 4:30 until about 5:30. And so we missed practice. And if you're a parent, you know that feeling. It's like, oh, I blew it. Now my child has to pay for it. And here comes this shame. Why can't I get it together? I need to give more attention to what my kids are doing. And it's like, ugh. And so my wife, Allie, she sends a message to the little group chat with the parents and the coach on the app, the team. And she says, hey, I'm sorry Mia missed practice. It was our fault. We thought practice was at 5:30 instead of 4:30. Mia didn't know, sorry. And she gets a message from that mom that introduced herself the night before. Private message to just her. And the message said, yep, we're gonna be friends. And it was not like, who cares about kids? Let's never bring them anywhere on time. Or it's not saying it doesn't matter, but hey, we're going for it, but none of us have quite gotten it yet. That should be the message of the church. You can belong before you believe. You've got permission to be in progress. You can be flawed. You don't have to be fake. There's no pretending. And so I'm going to ask the band to come back up here. We're just about out of time. But here's the picture I want to leave you with. And for me, this was eye-opening in terms of the way shame has altered the way that we see things as a culture. Imagine you've got a Jeep, right? And you get 100,000 miles on that Jeep, and then you decide, I'm not changing the oil anymore. So you stop changing the oil. You stop, changing the coolant. You stop taking it in for maintenance. And you drive another 100,000 miles. And one day, the car breaks down on the side of the road, right? After not taking care of it. You're not gonna get out of the car, look at the Jeep, and go, well, now I know what kind of car it really is, right? Or if you got an Olympic athlete, right? Fastest people in the world. You're not gonna wait till they tear their calf muscle or their hamstring and then watch them run to go well, now I know how fast you really are. But we tend to do that with people, right? I'm guilty of it. Where something goes wrong in a relationship, all of a sudden there's a lot of emotion. All of a sudden there's a lot of stress. All of a sudden, the conditions are way less than ideal, and somebody does something, and it's like, where did that come from? And you hear it, it's like, well, now I know who he really is, who she really is. We have the potential to measure people by their worst and darkest moments. And we have the potential to understand ourselves, to define ourselves by our worst and darkest moments. When we allow shame to become part of the way we think and function. But the good news is that that's not how God operates. There's a podcast we've talked about it before. It's called The Bible Project. There's a scholar in there. His name's Tim Mackey. The guy's Mackey. He's a genius. He said, God has made a habit of choosing to write people into history at their best, not at their worst. Like if you read the book of Hebrews in chapter 11, there's this, they call it the Hall of Faith. It's basically like the Hall of Fame. It's like by faith, this person did that. And by faith, this person did that. And they did this. And if they did amazing things, like celebrating these people. If you read their biographies, what these people did, they did some horrible, horrible things. And yet they're written into history in their best moments. We have a God who remembers us, who chooses to see us at our best. One who gave everything for us at our absolute worst. And so as a church, we're uniquely equipped with the remedy to the broken human condition. So if you're struggling, if you're hurting, if you're doubting, if you failed again, if you're still stuck in that rut, if your life's not what you thought it would be at this point, if you're fighting through it, imperfect, the message from the church is and should always be, yeah, we're gonna be friends. Let's pray. God, we're grateful that you don't wait for us to get it all together, that you invite us to come to you as we are, with our doubts, with our broken pieces, our broken parts, our issues, our shame. And so, God, would you show us what it looks like to find our identity in you? This is not a one-time thing. This is not a thing you hear a message about one time that will sink in and last forever. God, it's something that we need to come back to over and over and over, that I need to come back to over and over and over, and remind ourselves that we are not what we've done. We're not defined by our actions, but we're defined by what you've done for us. So would you help us to understand that? And God, would you protect us from becoming a church where shame thrives? Would you help us to keep the good news about Jesus, the gospel, the message of grace front and center always? Would you help us to remember that we were bought with a price, that it's you who gets to say what we're worth and who we are. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
We're going to sing one more song. You're invited to stand and join us.
If you're lonely, longing for someone to hear, if your burdens feel like more than you can bear, if you're searching for a place to just be honest, come just as you are. If you're tired of just hoping for an answer, if you're wishing you could let your guard come down, if you feel like you can't hold it all together, come just as you are. And there's no need for any hiding. In the Father's house you're met with open arms, and He gives grace without conditions, as you are, with nothing else, just come.
just as you are. Lay down your burden, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Water and come home. You're not too far. Lay down your burden, lay down your heart. Come as you are. 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 Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.